gathering people from the open source community on SafeMCP part. And on the Asta, we are trying to build the infrastructure for securing and governing AI agents.
What news you are excited about, technology you're playing with in AI?
Why you even do that? The question is the unknowns on the security part. They created SafeMCP to catalog all the attacks the agentic system could have. And then all those attacks are cataloged in such a way that they are mapped to MITRE.
I will start with a quick icebreaker, Arjun. What news you are excited about that in the last week that you heard, or your technology you're playing with in AI?
I mean, one of the most interesting has been the OpenClaw story. I think, if you think about how it's a personal agent, right? And then how it went viral, right? In it's very short time, everybody got excited, and we knew that the utility of the agent is amazing because that's what we saw, right? And then being from the security angle, when I was looking at it, it's like, why are we using like that, but we don't want to use on our laptop? We are trying to
same thing. I installed Moltebot on my spare computer. I did not install my main computer.
So think that, right? Why you even do that, right? The thing is, the question is the unknowns on the security part, right?
That's true.
It's like fear of unknowns, like what could happen. So I think that is a very interesting thing, and also like connecting that to a SafeMCP story. I want to kind of create.
Sure.
Let me tell you why SafeMCP even started. I think that is some interesting story. Around 7 months back, me and my co-founder Frederick, we were building the agent identity. We thought that every agent is like people, right? We need passports to go abroad. So we had this thesis that if agents be in the companies, and if multi-companies want to have their own agents, and if they want to interact, you need to have a very universal passport system, a universal identity system. So we actually we were working on the project called Agentic Zero Trust Protocol, actually, before SafeMCP. And so it is an identity protocol for agents. But I think we're way too early. So then we realized that when agents are, you want to take agent from POC to enterprise. One of the biggest thing is not only how good it works. It's like how easy it is to be governed, right? That's very important, right? So if you want to talk to CISO, they were like, hey, okay, I know that this works in my company, but how can I govern it? Like, how can I wire to my current governance structure and those kind of things, right? So we realized that would be the big industry question, not as a Asta question, but as an industry question. So we actually created SafeMCP to catalog all the attacks the agentic system could have, MCP agents in all the system could have. And then all those attacks are cataloged in such a way that they are mapped to MITRE, right? The famous MITRE attack tactics, right? So and then now what happens is when you're building an agentic system, then you can I'm gonna think about OpenClaw. So think about when you are building OpenClaw, first thing would be amazing is like map all the attacks it could happen, like catalog it. You literally map SafeMCP and catalog how many attacks that OpenClaw could have, right? And how you can mitigate it. Once you have that blueprint, maybe if they had that kind of report, Amar, you would have, okay, I know I could just install it in my laptop because I know these are the possible attacks it could have. So I think that
makes sense.
We realized the mapping, the industry needs it. So that's what we started in. OpenClaw story is that, right? We do not know what are the possible attacks there are that has not been mapped. By the way, we are mapping even OpenClaw.
Interesting.
We'll share in a couple of days. But that's the story. I think it kind of
This is interesting, Arjun. So, if you come back to why I did not install it on my main laptop, I installed it on a spare laptop, is mainly because of the unknowns, right? And now I don't know the risk. It's in the open cloud, the skills I'm adding, the connectors, all those things. The code is going to run, and I'm going to connect to the live data.
Yeah,
And the risk is not like a fixed application that you can test and say there are 5 features and 5 features work. That is, and there's one database. That's it, right?
yeah,
That's what most applications are. This is really a kind of a dynamic living thing, kind of a thing, right? It can go learn. It is going to try new things. So the risk is way higher, and we don't have a, there are many initiatives, but there is no like a report that we can read through. Okay, these are the high risk in this one, like a 10 or 20, and these are how we measure it on this
mhm,
particular agent. And based on that, you can decide, hey, what is the risk you are willing
yeah,
to take? Maybe not install at all. I'm not going to install, but maybe I'll
yeah,
install and not give connection to my email, right? Because the risk I don't want to take, but somebody else can take. But so it gives a transparency. So this is a very important topic, Arjun. This is exactly what Protecto we are also trying to solve. Once the identity part is fixed, let's say you know what the agent is, what access it should have on data. That's what we come into picture, right? So based on who's asking, what is the
mhm,
context, based on the data source, we will decide on the context who gets to see what data, right? Because role-based access, those things will not exist in the AI world, in the AI agentic world. All those things are lost in the data source itself. Now, how do you
mhm,
enforce such a thing is what we do. So it's very interesting how we can work together here. So let me go double click on whatever you said, right? You said, hey, I'm building some kind of a framework, some kind of list that gives you transparency on what risk you're taking. Now let's
mhm.
go a little deeper. Now I know the risk, but how an organization, because the first party is building an application, third party agents are going to come in, you're going to collaborate. How should an organization think about AI governance using this framework? Could you elaborate a bit more on that? How you're thinking
Yeah,
about it?
I think one thing is like the real fix of the risks. I mean, you cannot
Mm.
always be risk, right? There is always there
Yeah.
is some, but the best place to start is like even before building anything. I think
Okay.
about the architecture, right? So I'm gonna give you an example of maybe insurance. Let's take up
Yeah.
insurance company is trying
Yeah.
to build an agentic system within the company. Then the best way to go would be first think about the senior architect is thinking about what are the tools that agentic system would touch, what are the agent the it will work to, what are the database it is touching, all those things they will think through first, and then write basically create a big architecture document, right? And then
Yeah.
after building the architecture document, you need to safe MCP comes right there in the front.
Uh,
It's like you go SafeMCP GitHub. It's an open source repo part of Linux Foundation right now. So you
uh,
basically look at that architecture and see, oh, okay, these are the possible attacks it could happen in this architecture. Here are the possible vulnerabilities. You map with those
uh,
tech, right? And then you create a separate report, right? Okay, this
uh,
is our current architecture. These are the possible attacks it could happen, right? And then once you have that, now you map the attack surfaces, right? These are the possible things. Then as a organization, you are like, okay, do we have internal tools to kind of mitigate those specific attacks, right? Or do we need a vendor, right? Do you need Protecto for something or something like that, right? So you will like
sure.
start,
Sure.
you start figuring out like what are the for the mitigation of those specific attacks. Like for example, for RBAC, right? If you are trying to think
Yeah.
that role-based access control for agents, like so how do you think about it? You would have a very important question there, and you will start trying to find vendors like who would really solve that, right? So in this way,
Yeah.
what happens for big companies is like once they are very aware of how the attacks could surface, they can find a mitigation through companies who are providing mitigation, right? So in
Uh,
one way, Protecto is providing mitigation, right? In a lot of
yes.
ways,
Yes.
right? Think about it.
Right.
So that angle really works. Even I think it will be very interesting even for companies,
Yeah.
even for the companies who are trying
Agent
to sell
builders.
companies, yeah,
Yeah.
agent
Yeah.
builder, they should have the safe MCP attack mapping, because
Okay.
now
Yeah.
it's very easy for them to convince those big guys that, hey, these are the attacks, this is how we fix a lot of them by us, right? So
That's it's like, if you buy a food or something, calories, it says how many calories, what are these things, right?
yeah,
Something like that. An application has some kind of, hey, here are the risk vectors and AI, and this is how we see it, and this is how we have mitigated it, or we recommend you mitigate it. Then
yeah,
it becomes very transparent for the organization to use a third party application. And
yeah,
as you're right, on the first party application, they have to start from the beginning, right?
yeah.
So as they build, when they buy third party, they can get this mapped and see how they are taking a risk inside the organization. Yeah,
And
yeah, makes
then
sense. Yeah,
down the road, we are working on the actually standard. Like we realize that just like SOC 2 we have for organization, I think for
yeah,
agent is there is not similar kind of like a deep dive on attacks. There is
ah,
not that kind of standard. So safe
yeah,
MCP, it we are pushing to convert into a standard. That will be news down the road. We'll kind of we are working
okay,
hard as a community on that one, so that now you say, hey, this is a safe certified agent, right? That means, okay,
ah,
we have mapped all the attacks, we have thought through whatever the possible way it could happen, and we have thought through the mitigation too, so that
okay.
that becomes a very clear language. um,
Just a question, Arjun. So there are many frameworks. There is a broad NIST framework. There is the OWASP top 10, Agentic top 10, and there is MITRE. So there are many things. How do you see SafeMCP fit into this whole thing? Is it
yeah,
complementary, or is it replaces? How do you think about this?
I think that's the most asked question, and
Uh,
I like, let me give you analogy to that. um,
okay.
like, think about this. When you are like agents in application, right? Agent are just like different beast. I think they are the very different key creature of AI systems, right? So the good analogy would be, now you are trying to think about, you have a submarine, right? You build a
Uh,
submarine, and you want to go to Mariana Trench, like the deepest part of the ocean,
okay.
right? Like,
Yeah,
just
okay.
put that frame. So if
Uh,
you go like 5,000 feet, 10,000 feet, you are fine. You are like, oh, that is kind of everybody has ventured.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and that 10 and 20,000 feet are where MITRE and NIST are, because they are looking on the applications, regular SaaS and all those deterministic application.
Yeah.
So they have mapped all those attacks until that 10,000, right? But
Okay.
now the event brings a different breed of attacks, right?
Yeah.
That we
Yeah.
It's like analogy. I want to throw another analogy right here. Is
Sure. Sure.
think about, you are married, okay? Both are
Uh,
both are going to the job. How would you protect your house? You lock it. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You lock it, and it's safe.
Yeah.
But now you
Yeah.
married and you have two kids, small kids.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
left them in the house. You went out for a 1 hour, then
Yeah.
locking is not enough. You might need a camera just to kind of look at what are
Yeah.
they doing with kids, right?
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
or some other mechanism. So agents are
Right.
like that. They have this their own behavior that is
Right.
non-deterministic, right?
True.
That there
True.
are more ways to look at it. So that's
Yeah.
why safe MCP provides a extreme granularity. So
Okay.
yeah, so the safe MCP techniques are actually crosswalk to MITRE and
Okay.
OAuth crosswalk. So we are
Okay.
not competing.
Yeah.
We actually provide that from 10,000 to like that 28,000 or 30,000 depth of ocean. We provide that.
Okay.
It's like
Okay.
we tell them what are the ways it could be attacked. All those that is not even shown in the regular application, but on the agentic, it could happen, right?
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
so, so that's where like safe MCP comes in.
So to somewhere to think about, hey, there are broad strokes of risk other
Mhm.
other frameworks give.
Yeah.
Then there is the finer details of a difference between a prompt injection versus a jailbreak versus jail within a jailbreak kind of thing, or data leak can happen from over privilege, or it can be from a misconfiguration. There are many kind of risks. So going to the granularity of how these actually can happen in an AI world or agentic world, and later then grouping them, mapping them, crosswalk to other frameworks. Is that how the SafeMCP is set? Okay.
Exactly.
So this can this be taken the way it looks like it can be at the granular level, but I can start summarizing and align it to the entire organizational frameworks. Like many organizations have MITRE or some kind of higher frameworks. Okay, so that's how you think it will evolve, or is it going to be something like it lives on its own, or it will be piped into this other framework?
It should pipe. I think otherwise it's
Okay.
like it's too much effort, right? So
Yeah.
big organizations already have a MITRE, right? They have mapped all their
Yes.
attacks to MITRE. So
Yeah.
with Safe, it's like just crosswalking to MITRE. So they will just
Okay.
crosswalk. Then they mapped all their agentic risks. Like now, basically the CISOs can see, hey, these are my agents. I mapped with
Yeah.
Safe MCP. So now I have entire the agentic asset. I have the crosswalk. So it totally makes sense to map, not compete. Yeah.
Okay, good. So today, one of the challenges we face, or any organization face, is hey, there are growing number of technology, or the speed at which AI is growing. Right? You every week. We didn't talk about Moltbot 2 weeks
Yeah.
back, right? Now we are talking Moltbot, and we are talking about uh, technology that's moving really fast. How do you expect your safe MCP to keep up, or how do the community is thinking about it? How often do you update? How do you keep up with this?
So the attack techniques, almost like you could put a rough analogy with CVs. Like if you find something, you add it there, right? So
Yeah.
all those techniques we have right now 81. There will be more and more. But
Okay.
now the question is, if you have more and more, how do you kind of, it's too much noise, right? Too
Yeah.
much
Right.
like
Right. Right.
for an organization to map everything. So for that one, actually, we have top 10 questionnaires. Actually, we have
Okay.
top 10 questionnaires. Those are the agent questions, MCP, and AI system question you could ask. And those questions are mapped with these techniques. So those are the 20 most top 10 are one category has two questions. So there are like 20 total
Okay.
questions. So
Okay.
when you reason your system around those questions, then you kind of covered most of the like a very like
Okay.
critical high level attacks, and others. I mean, whenever we find that there are new severity we saw, we'll create a new question in add there. So
Okay.
in that way you can
So
operationalize it. Yeah.
so it is like for agent builders, it is they are thinking of a question and an answer, but internally it will be think of later map to a risk, right? Is
Yeah,
that
automatically.
how?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you answer it
Interesting.
and you feel like, okay, this answer is it perfectly is a very robust answer to that question, that means you literally map to 4 or 5 attacks. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. This is very interesting, Arjun. Let me. We are approaching the 30-minute mark, so I'm going to ask anything you think. How looking future, right? Looking at the future, how should we think about risk? MCP, safe MCP is one framework. As an organization, what hurdles will they face beyond these frameworks? How should they think about risk? And that is my question. Then there is a follow-up question to that as well once you answer that.
I think one of the biggest evolution of like if you think about the agents, no, like if you think about the SaaS, and now we're
Right.
moving internal adoption of agent. I think the biggest
Right.
move would be on like a agentic interaction between companies. Right now, we have not seen that
Right.
yet. Right.
Right.
Right now,
That's
it's
true.
like I'm gonna automate this flow. I wanna make this job better in this company. So that we are thinking
Yeah.
down the road. What
Yeah.
gonna happen? Just the way you can expose APIs,
Right.
or right now we
Yeah.
are exposing MCPs. We're gonna
Right.
expose agents.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when you
That can
expose
interact. Yeah.
with other agent from another company. So think
Right.
about that. Like I as a company wants to get some job done. There
Yeah.
are agents from 5 different companies I want to subscribe and then
Yes.
orchestrate, right? And
Yeah.
in they get that job done. At the time, the agentic behavior are very interesting. Like how the
Right.
data, what are the question you are asking? Who has rights to those questions? Who has right to the invite?
Right.
All thing that is very different than APIs. APIs
Right.
have
Right.
very deterministic way to kind of decide where the data stores, where is the boundary.
Agreed.
But agent is very interesting, right? So I think they're gonna be the one of the biggest challenge the industry gonna face is a more like that. Our original question is like passports, right? Think about
Right.
more
Right.
company, like what is that common passport system that every company want to agree on, and what are
Right.
those like rules that where data
Yeah. Two
lies.
parts. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 I think they're gonna
That's
be one of the biggest thing. I think next.
Yeah, makes sense. So one is the identity part, another is the
Mhm.
authorization part. Like you say who you are. Like yes, I agree that you are agent from Salesforce. Great. Now, what can I share with you is authorization because I'm also an agent. I am talking to human kind of thing, agent to agent. Then what can I share with you? What can you share? What can I get from you? Right. So that authorization and data controls are also will be very challenging. Identity plus data makes sense.
In the
And
in there,
yeah,
like I want to add one more thing.
yeah,
Data access clause when the new emergent data comes. How do we reason
right.
about it? It's like because you got one context here, the LLM reasoned with it and created a new data set. Like
Exactly, exactly.
that's the interesting question. Like whose data is that? Is that from the companies like the who gave the context or who reasoned about it? Who owns that
Yes,
data?
yes.
Yeah.
That's who owns the data, and also now when I build the context for my agent or the LLM, I also added my own data in there, right? I got something from outside. I added mine. Now I
Yeah.
created something new. My data may not be there part of this,
Yeah.
but it has that knowledge, right? So now it becomes tricky. Even I can share with it, right, with the
Yeah.
external world. So that becomes very complex in how these and when the data transforms, right? If you're in a fixed database and a structure, I can block certain rows, columns,
Yeah.
but it gets transforming in a real time. Then how do you control data? That is one of the problems we solve, by the way, in Protecto, okay, through
Um,
context-based access control. But it's a separate topic. So we have a couple of more minutes left.
mhm.
So what are you excited about? Any announcements? Anything you want to say to the community? Please.
Oh yeah, sure. One of the big thing we are right now doing is with the like Moldbot. Okay, there is a like open
Yeah.
cloud. We realize that the unknowns is too much, so we are
Yes.
mapping like all the safe MCP to the
Oh, wow.
open cloud. So you will see that report in few days. So
Okay,
okay, that's
nice.
the announcement here.
Exciting. Yeah, okay. That's a good, exciting thing. Good. So, Arjun, this is a fantastic conversation. I learned a lot. I'm pretty sure our listeners also have learned a lot. Going forward, we will follow SafeMCP. We will try to contribute. We'll love to work with you and
Yeah,
keep in touch.
yeah. Thank you, Amar. This has been really great. Yeah, thanks for this.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, bye.